always got yellow.
I'll call the Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We have, well, let's go ahead and do the invocation and the pledge first, and then we'll go to closed session. I know, I'm echoing.
Yeah, we're correcting that.
All right. I'll hide it.
Can you speak into it just to...
Testing. It's still echoing. There, maybe. Where's Blake when you need him?
check the volume?
Try it again.
I'd like to ask, oh, still doing it. Technical difficulties. That took it out. No. All right, that'll work. I want to ask Ms. Kendra Hayden if she will lead us in the invocation, and Ms. Kelly Woods for the pledge, please.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the honor and ability to be involved in working for the good of our county and its citizens. Please grant wisdom to our community leaders and humble desire to govern with the needs of our citizens as the priority. Fill us with your grace and let us never forget that all we do is in your glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. I'd like to ask if we could get a motion. Our legal counsel wasn't here for closed session, and that's what we needed to go into closed session for, so I'd like to ask if the board would entertain to put that off until the end of the meeting if he comes.
So moved.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? In favor. I need a motion for the adoption of the agenda and the additional agenda as presented. On the additional agenda also, we need to add that verbally for the, we need to add the recommendation from the Personnel Committee meeting on the additional agenda as well.
Mr. Chairman, also your 6 o'clock Department of Game and Inland Fisheries.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gregory is unable to attend tonight.
Okay. So we'll need to strike 6 o'clock Department of Game and Inland Fisheries.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve pertaining and stated as you, to strike and to add the new additions.
We got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Need a motion for the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting from October the 8th to October 24th. I did see a correction on page 19, where it has Curtis Ray as abstaining.
Move to approve.
I don't know if anybody else.
Well, if there's no discussion on it. Second.
Motion and second. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Financial status, Mr. Carter.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, in front of you, you should have a packet that begins with a report on revenue summary, and I'll wait until Kelly gets those pulled up on the screen too. Same reports that you see fairly regularly at your board meeting. As we're getting that pulled up, probably need to make it bigger than that. I have pretty bad eyesight, so that's a little bit. Okay. So the first page is your revenue report, and I'll just start with that. If you look at Fund 1, which is your general fund revenues, you'll notice at the bottom you budgeted and approved an amount in Fund 1 of $25,782,504. Current amount, which is the past month's collections, is $1,930,825.49. Your year-to-date amount that you've collected is $6,533,360.77, which leaves a balance in Fund 1 of $19,249,143.23, which is about 74% of uncollected. So quarter way through the year, you're right on quarter way of the revenues that we're anticipating. The next few pages are the fund balances that pertain to the other funds within the county structure. Those go all the way back to what is called page 6. If you look at page 6 on that same report, at the bottom you have a budget amount of $89,532,432. If you remember back earlier in the year, we made an amendment to the budget, primarily the school system, which raised the adopted budget to $89,722,289. That's what that difference is. Altogether, in all funds for revenue, the current amount in this prior month was $6,103,740.44, and your year-to-date number is $22,759,987.16. That leaves you a balance of $66,962,301.84. And again, you're right at that 74% uncollected, or 25%. So revenue-wise, you're pretty much on track with where you need to be quarter way through. Your next page should be an expenditure report. It is basically the sister report of the revenue that we just talked about. On this report, the first page has a listing of basically all the departments and the organizations and agencies that the county actually funds out of their expenditure line items. You can go down through there and look. Keep in mind that anywhere you see something that is under 75%, a lot of times we have upfront costs that come out of budget, so those typically factor out as we go through the months. The last line item for Fund 1 actually shows up on the top of page 2 under the Comprehensive Services Act. And you guys well know that that's an item that we always look at and usually have to go back and identify some additional funds for. But if you get to the fund total of Fund 1, you have a $25,888,786 adoption. Your current amount is $2,140,661. Your year-to-date amount is $6,725,455.72, with an unencumbered balance of $19,163,330.28. And again, expenditures of that is right at your 75% remaining. This was actually 74.02. So again, your revenues and expenditures pretty much matching at the point in the year that you're at. The remaining funds, again, are the matching funds from the revenues corresponding. If you flip to page 5 of that report, it will have an expenditure summary, and it is there are no lines on this one other than your original amount of your adoption of $89,532,432, your amended budget, which I identified earlier, of $89,722,289. You have a current amount expenditure of $6,953,095.49. You have a year-to-date amount of $21,833,025.36, and an unencumbered amount of $67,889,263.64. Again, right there at your 75% left remaining. So from a revenue and expenditure standpoint, quarter way through the year, your numbers on both revenues and expenditures identify that accordingly. The next page that you should have is basically an AP comparison of the different departments, and they range all the way from the Board of Supervisors on the very top, all the way down to the Police Activity Fund 744 at the bottom. What this is a snapshot. If you look at the columns, we have a 19, which is today's numbers. We have an 18, which was a year ago's numbers, and then we have a difference. So if you go to the bottom and you look, and you can, and I'll go through these in just a moment, but in November of 19, you have an AP listing of $1,007,992.48. In 18, an AP listing of $905,862.74. There's a difference of $102,129.74. That's 19 over 18. And when you look up the difference columns, some of those are pretty recognizable. There's some additional water expenditures. Our CSA program had some additional funds. We had a little bit more in solid waste, and our information systems actually purchased some hardware. And keep in mind, these are timing factors. So where you may see one that exceeds the previous month from last year, over the budget cycle, that should even back out. Your next report should be just a calculation. It's a spreadsheet that dates all the way back to 2012-13 budget. It runs all the way up to the current 19-20. It gives you an idea of the deposits and expenditures that have historically came into the county. And I'll go right to the 19-20 on the far right. In this year, and if you look across October, you'll see that historically there are less deposits that come in on October as there are in expenditures. And that's just the name of it. Now keep in mind, in November and December, those tax revenues will come in, and those numbers will greatly differ. But historically, October has been more of an expenditure month than a revenue producing month. So in 19-20, as an example, your deposits $6,164,1106, and your expenditures was $7,395,94. So there's a difference there. Again, once we get into November, that should change accordingly. Next papers that you have, these numbers come directly from the Treasurer's office, and as you recall, we've tried to condense these onto individual pages while eliminating the flipping them back that we used to have. But very quickly, I'll go through these numbers. I'll start with the first bold numbers, which are basically your balance and your investments. In 18, you had $6,358,627.19. In 19, you had $8,349,453.30. So on that column alone, your increase in 19 is $1,990,826.11. We go to the deposits in 2018, $6,457,586.21. They were slightly down in 19. Your deposits in 19, $6,160,411.06. So there was a $297,175.15 decrease in your deposits that were reported that month. The expenditures is where we make that difference up. If you look at 18's expenditures, we had it at $7,530,868.98. In October of 19, $7,395,94. So we were actually $530,473 and a penny less in our expenditures in 19. That brings you to your subtotals. Your subtotal in 18, $5,285,344.42. Your subtotal in 19, $7,509,468.42. That is an increase of $2,224,124. Now we get to the unspent appropriations, which we'll talk a little bit more on the next page, but just as a general number, the unspent appropriations in 18 were $615,068.73, and the unspent appropriations in 19, $899,193.02. So there's an increase in your unspent appropriations this year of $284,124.29, and on the next page I will detail those to provide why that is. Take all of those, add and subtract, you get to a balance. Your balance in 18 was $4,670,275.69. Your balance in 19 is $6,610,275.40, which is an increase of $1,939,999.71. A couple other things that we've tracked along the way. The Police Activity Fund, or the Sheriff's Radar Fund as it's called on this sheet, in 18 there was a balance of $882,800.35. In 19, the balance is $481,313.95, which is a decrease of $401,486.40. So that is kind of a summary there. If you'll turn to the next page, we can talk a little bit about the unspent appropriations that I mentioned. This is a listing of the unspent appropriations both in 18 and 19. If you look at 18 for social services, they had an unspent amount of $110,306.94. In 19, they've reduced that to $23,168.83, which is a reduction of $87,138.11. The school board and capital outlay in 18, they had an unspent appropriation of $485,445.45. In 19, they have an unspent appropriation of $768,701.31, which is an increase of $283,255.86. And finally, what's called the general county. In 18, we had an unspent appropriation of $19,316.34, and in 19, we have an unspent of $107,322.88. But keep in mind, there are sheriff's department's cars that are factored into that have not yet been purchased. But overall, that's an $88,000 increase there. The balance, again, is the same as I identified earlier. One of your next pages is one that we talked about with water and sewer and county taxes. And very quickly, if you look at 18, the water and sewer balance was $2,702,329.97. In 19, it's $2,547,259.22. So that's $155,070.75 less. Your deposits for water and sewer in 18, $190,101.33. In 19, they were up slightly, $207,490.79. So your deposits were up $17,389.46. Your expenditures in 18 was $157,484.54. Your expenses in 19 was $92,023.47. So that's good. That's a decrease of $65,461.07. That brings you to your balance in October. It was $2,669,713.18. And in 19, it was $2,431,791.90, which is $237,921.28 less. So there are improvements being made along that area as well. Very quickly, if you go down to the uncollected county taxes, In 18, you were looking at taxes from 98 to 2017. You had a number of $13,024,162.54. In 19, you're looking at a number from 99 to 2018, and that number is $12,883,159.30. So that's a decrease of $141,003.24. Your PPTRA, which changes with different variables. In 18, it was $8,943,713.16. 19, it's $8,986,820.16. So there's actually a plus 43,107, which brings your uncollectibles in 18 to 4,080,449.38. 19, 3,896,339.14. So it's 184,110.24 less. The final three, uncollected county taxes in 2018 was 15,834,405.66. Uncollected county taxes in 2019, 16,101,472.98, which is an increase of $267,067.32. Your PPTRA, and keep in mind this is 1 year versus the years that were identified earlier. In 18, 1,823,407.39. In 19, 1,827,448.84, which is $4,041.45 better. And finally, your uncollected in October of 18, 14,010,998.27. Your uncollected in October of 19, 14,274,024.14, which is an increase of $263,025.87. After all that, you have a treasurer's accountability report that consists of 4 pages that are a direct report from the treasurer's office. They identify the various fund balances, the debts, the whole 9 yards. I would encourage you to look at those when you have the opportunity. If there are any questions about those, I'll make an attempt to answer it, but I would also include the treasurer as they produce these reports. That brings us to today, and if you look at your additional agenda, you have a sequence of appropriations that line that page, and I'm proud to say that there are different months in the fiscal year that are lean and some that are not. And I'm happy to tell you that today we have a new balance which includes your deposits from November 1st through 7th that you have available, $8,120,444.20, which is ample enough to consider all the appropriations listed on your additional agenda for consideration today, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I got a little ahead of myself and didn't welcome everybody that's here tonight. Thanks for coming. Would like to have participation. I see 2 new board member faces. Will be new board members next year. I wish you guys the best. So right now I'd like to open citizens time. We got a sign-up sheet, ma'am.
I signed up.
Okay, I'm getting there.
There's a name ahead of me, so I didn't.
Yeah, Richard Sims. If we'll take it in order how the sign-up is, if that would be please you. Richard Sims, if you come up and state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
My name is Richard Sims. Address is 217 Rambling Ivy Trail in South Lala. I have a couple pieces of property, 2 lots on Anderson Avenue that I've got sold on the contingents that I can put a mobile home on. And I found out that there's no special use permit that will allow me to do that. And I'd like to request the board, if they would, see if we can get a special permit for that property. Right now, there's a total of, I think, 15 mobile homes on that street, from Chill High Street to Napoleon. And there's a total of 23 homes on it. There is a mobile home park on that block, on the street, across the street from these lots. That we're restricted to where we can't put a mobile home on. I understand we can put a double wide, but the folks that want to buy this property have a single wide. They'd like to be able to put it on these.
I don't want to interrupt citizens' time, but we've got Clegg here specifically for this, unless you got something else, so to get him out of here. Mr. Sims, and I realize in residential, it's zoned residential out there, and residential has no special use permit for single wides in a residential, which most cases, everything works all right, but some cases like this, where there's already 15, 20 mobile homes there, and people are used to mobile homes being there, then, we just shut the door off. So my question to you is, the proper way is to send this to the ordinance committee and let them look at it. And I know when I come on the board 4 years ago, we changed a lot of those things. We updated them, if you remember. So can the ordinance committee not look at this and possibly update that part?
So yeah, in a nutshell, the property is done residential, which is correct. And in our residential district, manufactured homes, as Mr. Sims stated, are allowed, but only if they're multiple section homes, so double wide or triple wide. So our ordinance does not currently have a provision to allow single wides in the residential district. So that basically leaves three options. One, the ordinance stays the way it is, and there is just no avenue for single wides in the residential district. Two, the map could be changed. It's currently zoned residential, which doesn't allow single wides, but if it were rezoned to say agriculture rural, single wides are allowed in the AR district. So a map amendment would be one possible solution. And then a second possible solution would be to change the ordinance, the text of the ordinance, to somehow allow single wides either by right or by special use in the residential district, and then that would in turn open the door and provide an opportunity for him to apply.
Right. So you wouldn't have to go to the extremes, but we could add a special use permit, which would have to be heard by the planning commission, special use, the whole 9 yards, like we all do.
Yeah, so the first step would be, to, if that's the avenue that the board wants to go down, is to typically refer it to the ordinance committee, decide if they do want to put it in by special use, set up a text amendment, so we're not going to change the county code, go through a public hearing, add that amendment to the county code, and then that would provide him an opportunity to apply for special use permit, and then we would set up a special use permit hearing for that specific tract of land.
One more question, and this is not normal, so I apologize for citizens' time, but Clegg is on overtime and we got a long way home. So the ordinance committee could rechange this. When we changed those before, like to allow special use or not special use, you remember that when we've done all that, did we have to have a public meeting on that after the?
Yeah, anytime we change the county code, there's got to be a public hearing.
Okay, all right. Then, Mr. Chairman, if we could, refer this to the ordinance committee so they could take a look at this and report back to the board of supervisors?
Well, I'd rather us get through citizens' time, and then if you want to make that motion as soon as we come out of citizens' time, we can do that.
I'll make that motion. So you're good.
I'm sorry.
If you have anything else to say, you can, but what they're gonna do is entertain a motion if one is made after citizens' time to send it back. Did you understand what he said?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Fred.
You bet.
Thank you, Mr. Sims. I know you drove a long way.
Ms. Irwin Rowland? Thank you.
County News and Messenger of October 9th, 2019, about a month ago, reported that a plan is in the works to establish a regional, multifaceted, residential drug addiction treatment facility in Marion on the grounds of the State Hospital, the Southwestern Virginia Mental Health Institute, where people from counties all over Southwest Virginia will come to be treated. Also planned is a day reporting jail diversion program where convicted addicts can stay out of jail as long as they are in the program and report regularly to this facility. Stop there. Now I ask, is this what we want Smyth County to become and to be known as? The drug addiction mecca for Southwest Virginia, in addition to already being the home to a state mental hospital and prison. As worthy and needed as these new facilities are, they should not be in Smyth County, which has already done more than its share in caring for troubled people. It is time for another county or counties to step up and do their part by housing these activities. Marion has graciously hosted the state hospital for 132 years with considerable burden to itself. To this day, you can mention mention Marion, and people will say, "Oh, that's where the lunatic asylum is." And the state prison, with its razor wire and guard towers shining like a big headlight on a hill right at the entrance to the town at exit 45, gives hardly an inviting welcome and good impression for Marion. I think to myself, why wasn't someone speaking up at that time to stop that prison from going up there? Smyth County needs a balanced, wholesome environment to attract sorely needed businesses and people to come here to work, live, and be a part of the community. This proposed drug treatment facility and the jail diversion program, added to the mental hospital and prison already here, will instead repel them. They will diminish the quality of life in our county, hurt its economy, and reduce its property values and tax base. Let me repeat. They will diminish the quality of life in our county, hurt its economy, and reduce its property values and tax base. Smyth County and its residents will be the losers. I ask the Board of Supervisors to withdraw its support for locating this drug treatment center and jail diversion program here in Smyth County. They belong in one of the other counties. I have one of these letters for each of you.
Do you need the address, her address? Okay. Thank you. Nathan Gary from Saltville Rescue Squad. Good evening.
My name is Nathan. I'm the new Daily Operations Manager for Saltville Rescue Squad. I'm here tonight just to give you a report and an update on what we've accomplished over the last several months. Other than separating ways with our other Daily Operations Managers. Over the last several months, we have, if I may approach.
Sure.
We have run into black. We've actually been profited right at $12,000 to $15,000 over the last 2 months, rather than running over the red as we had in the past. We have gained 3 new ALS providers. Do you need a copy of this? We've gained 3 new ALS providers in the last, I'd say, 2 weeks now. We are covering every one of our calls that we can. We do have 24-hour-a-day coverage. Sometimes we do get a second call that we cannot cover, so we do have to rely on another agency, whether it be Lade, Rescue, or Chill Highway, to cover that second call for us, not because we don't have the manpower to cover that. We're out on the first call ourselves. As you can see, we have reduced our payroll. It's the contract labor about midsection. We have reduced our payroll over the last 2 months, quite sufficiently by about $37,000 a year. And the first page there is the profit and loss for the third quarter, and the next 2 pages, of course, is profit and loss for September and October. You can read over and look at to see where we've gained our money by doing that. Again, tonight was just to give you an update of how we were. I know this time last year we were here begging for money. This year we just want to give you a heads up and say, hey, we're still surviving, we're still here. We've not filled all the holes in the boat, but we are filling most of them, and we'll continue to strive as hard as we can, just like we've done in the last 6 to 8 months, to survive to this point. Thank you guys for your support, and hope we continue the work that we've done, and be in support of you guys as y'all have been us. Thank you. Anyone, if you have any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I know it sounds like a stuffed record, but me and Nathan are real good friends. I attend all their board meetings and all their meetings, and he sells himself and those other people at the Solver Rescue Squad short. They have went over and above their duty to pull that squad out of the red and keep it there. All I can do is brag on them. Every time it's something new that's good and better. Every time I go to a meeting, I come out there smiling, which you don't get to do very often.
Right.
But I do that one meeting. I enjoy going to that meeting with those people.
Well, our core members are community oriented. Myself, I live here in Marion. I don't even live in Sullivan. But I put a lot of time in over there, volunteer time. I do work shifts, but a lot of the time I spend over there because the community needs us. And that's what we're out here for. And I know you guys in the county outside of the town of Saltville needs us over that way, all the way from the Bland County line to the Washington County line. And now we're actually responding into Washington County because an agency in Washington County is not upholding their responsibilities. Glade Rescue is so far in the Glade that they're actually asking us for assistance over in the Valley area. So we are getting additional calls in that area, which is going to in turn turn into additional funding for us also, because we're transporting those patients and getting billing from those. And again, we do have our billing back that we didn't have this time last year, which has made a big difference in numbers that you can see by the reports I left with you. Thank you for your time. Anything else? If not, I'll leave you alone.
Just Godspeed, we're all pulling for you, and we want the same thing to happen. We want that coverage done, and go ahead.
I have a question on your insurance. It looked like through the first quarter, you had your total insurance of $13,538. Is that pretty well paying you up to the most of it for the whole year? Is that, or what is, are you expecting?
Two payments.
Okay, 2 payments.
That's the second half of the year. Yes, sir.
That make a big difference then?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I want to commend him, y'all really took a hold of us. Ain't been that long he was in here, we weren't going to survive, we was going to shut the doors. Somebody stepped up. I mean, you can see it right here on this paper, and we got to have y'all. So I definitely appreciate everybody over there. I feel like Roscoe, it's a world of difference. I'm doing a hell of a job.
Thank you very much. And on a personal note, I hope Chad's doing well.
He's doing fine, and I appreciate that.
Yes,
So
sir.
you know why I appreciate it.
Yes.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's all that I have signed up on Citizens Time to speak. Is there anybody here wishing to speak here in Citizens Time? With that being said, I'll close Citizens Time.
Now, before I forget, can I make a
Yes, sir.
motion
Go ahead.
to,
Yes, sir.
Send Mr. Sims' issue to the ordinance committee to be studied. Actually, I'd like, it's good, residential it's good. I understand the reason we've done it residential, but some residential already has 15, 20 mobile homes in them. And, one case don't always fit the same shoe. So that's why we have special use for this. But anyway, I'd like for the ordinance committee to take a look at it if we could.
Second.
Motion and a second on the table. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Smyth County Extension Office, Dr. Andy Overbay. Did you notice I added that on there for you?
Yes, thanks, sir.
You got it.
Appreciate that. Good to see everybody this evening, and appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on in our office. Of course, there's a lot of things going on in our office. In fact, there's several folks in the audience today. We've helped kill a lot of things in their yard, so we're happy to be here. One thing I do want to mention tonight that Ms. Lauren McCroskey is not with us tonight. Can we get that? Where'd it go? Her grandmother is very seriously ill and having a hospital, and Miss Betty Snavely is her name, and we ask you to remember her in your thoughts and prayers, because they don't really know what's wrong with her. Anyone that says no news is good news has never been waiting on to hear about a job or a medical test, so we appreciate that. Of course, let's see your kid.
Is it,
Working?
is
It's going to be like in school and just go ding.
there's a
Switch on the
switch
side.
on the
Yeah,
side?
it's on. I
Okay.
do this for a living.
Oh.
There we go. There we go. Of course, 4-H
Hey,
is...
hey,
Smart training.
do it for a living, right?
Yes, sir. Barely. Set that one up, didn't we? Yeah. Of course, 4-H is our flagship program. Everybody's familiar with 4-H, and with good reason in Smyth County. We enjoyed a great relationship with Smyth County Schools and Mr. Baylor Robinson. We'll speak a little bit about that. Of course, another one of our programs. Oh, here we go again. There you go. Thank you. I'll just click there. Is our agriculture program. If you'll click one more time, our food and nutrition program. That's one that you probably don't know as much about. That is funded through the SNAP-Ed grant program, from the food stamp program. The United States Department of Agriculture funds that program through a grant through social services, which comes to extension and funds that program. Next slide. And these, just to show you a little bit about the return, and I really want to thank the board for generously supporting extension through the years, pretty much what we've asked for, and we appreciate that. You'll click that one more time. These young ladies work in our office at no cost to Smyth County. And I want to point that out. Pam, of course, our unit administrative assistant, is paid through Virginia Tech as a staff member. Kim Russell and Melina Estridge do our SNAP-Ed program. They're funded through the United States Department of Agriculture. If you'll get one more time there. These, again, this amounts to $170,000 plus of salary and benefits that come into Smyth County that the board, none of us have to really pay for. And that's a plus. These folks are local. They spend money in Smyth County, and that's a plus to us. One more time. I wanted to share with you just a couple of programs that have been successful. Our BQA program is one of our flagship programs. It takes a lot of time, about 30 days a year I devote to this program. This is our value-added beef cattle program. For beef cattle amount to about 96% of the agriculture economy in Smyth County. And these cattle are backgrounded. The big thing on this program, you can notice the weaning 45 days. These animals, research shows that if you wean a calf and give it 45 days away from mom and give it time to straighten out, these animals don't get sick. One of the things that we used to encounter when we'd ask folks to buy Virginia cattle, I said, well, I'm not interested in that because I buried half of them. And so these animals are preconditioned, they're ready to go. And next slide, please. One of the things that we do is we compare these calves to the state-graded sales. Next slide, one more time. To date, and that's the calves we worked today, this week. Scott and Phil and I and crew at Tri-State, we worked about 2,500 animals Monday and Wednesday. So I got cleaned up and wondered if I'd survive to get up here. But we've sold almost a little over 8,500 head of cattle. Next slide. That day we've added about $800,000 to those animals this year. That's in addition to what they would have brought at a regular sale. We've sold, since the program's in session, we've sold almost 66,000 head of cattle. And the last part of what we're really excited about, we've added over $6 million of value to these animals, which is about $92 a calf. So every time someone brought 10 calves in, they got an extra $1,000 to go home with. And that's important for our farmers who work so hard and need that money. And another thing about this program is really you see the value of it if it went away. Because whenever someone's paying a little bit more for cattle, it raises everyone else's prices as well. Next slide, please. The other thing I want to speak to you before I turn it over to Bailey is our grants. We've handled several grants either through Smyth County. Our B grant came through Smyth County, but also Abbott and feeder cattle. We've offered several grants, and one more time there, we've conservatively paid out about $275,000 to Smyth County farmers to buy equipment, to increase our facilities, our ability to make money. So we're very proud of what we've been able to do, and I think for the money that you've invested in us, we try to show a good return on investment. And I'll turn it over to Bailey to talk about the 4-H program. Let's see if you know that.
I'll just tell you when to switch over. Good afternoon. Like you said, my name is Bailey Robertson. I'm the program assistant for Smyth County 4-H. I'm just going to highlight some of our programs. The first program I'm going to talk about today is our in-school program. Our in-school programming is we're in every 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade classroom in the county. It doesn't matter the school, and then that goes along with our homeschool as well. We do a homeschool program. But we're in every 3rd, 4th, and 5th, like I said, and each grade is going to take on a different project and some of the same projects. Our 3rd grade is going to take on our pumpkin project, a kids marketplace, and a poultry project. Our 4th grade is going to take on a dramatic reading, a how-to, a share the fun, and a nature project. And the 5th grade is going to take on public speaking projects, how to share the funds, and pumpkin projects as well. And you can tell that I have an 8th grade symbol up there. We've just launched a science fair project program in Chilhowie right now. We're kind of testing it out and making sure we get all the kinks out. That way we can hopefully transport it to Marion and Saltville's 8th grade fall 2020. We also have another new project that we're working on for the 3rd grade in Smyth County. This is going to be a garden project. We're hopefully going to be putting in planters at every school and then take on gardening in 3rd grade. I'm working with Chilhowie Middle School's technology teacher to design and build these planters. It's hopefully going to be some type of friendly competition to see who can build the neatest design planter and then also budget friendly. And then they're going to put together maybe get a nice platform and put their names for the kids that spent the time designing it. But that's hopefully for this spring. Going back to last year, we had over 900 projects completed between our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. And if I remember correctly, that was about a little more than 1 project per student. So it's excellent. We work very close with our teachers in all these grades. A lot of our success in our 4-H programs are given to our teachers for allowing us to come in and advertise for them. These programs aren't just beneficial to us. A lot of these projects that I talked about, they meet SOL requirements for the teachers. It gives them a break and it gives the students a new face to look at. If you guys are interested, I have just a couple of our projects that we do. If you want to look over them, this is the science fair project that we just starting up. Here's our nature project, and this is our share the fun project. And you guys in the crowd are more than welcome to look at those as well. Moving on, you can go ahead and thank you. Our camp experiences. Why we offer camp experiences, I'm not going to go and list all the bullet points, but we offer day camps and our week-long 4-H camp. Our day camps are anywhere from 2 to 8 hours, and they're anything from water field days to hikes to STEM-based classes to, we did the corn maze and pumpkin carving. So there's just a wide range of day camps that we do. We really do that to capture a large audience in our school systems. Since I've started, I've put on 11 day camps total, and we've successfully collected about 60 youth, anywhere from 5 to 14 years old, and that equals about $1,800 that we brought in, and a lot of that money goes back into our county, buying gas, supplies, and supporting local businesses like Haines Greenhouse and so on. For 4-H camp, that's a week-long camp that we always put on at the Southwest 4-H Center. Typical schedule for that is they'll wake up about 7:30, they'll get breakfast, get ready for the day, clean up, get their beds all ready. They go to 3 classes. Classes are anything from like archery to shooting to low ropes to climbing, outdoor cooking, indoor cooking, stuff like that. We have afternoon rec time, swim time, and we do afternoon events. At the very bottom, we put on a carnival almost every year at 4-H camp. A lot of money and time goes into that carnival. We do it up big, that's for sure. After our afternoon events, we do dances and campfires. At a price point of about $210, it may seem like a lot, but I always tell everyone it's the cheapest vacation you'll ever purchase. I always use the example of going to Gatlinburg and spending 3 nights for $70 a night, and you haven't even bought gas or food or anything else. Looking at numbers for 4-H camp, since Lauren started her first year, I believe she took about 160-something total, and then they combined 2017 and 2018 with Haswell because of decreasing numbers. So when I stepped in 2019, we were faced with camping 4-H camp alone, so with no Haswell numbers added in, and we stepped up and got 181 kids total. This next slide is going to show a slightly different number. It shows 209, and that's with all of our team leaders and counselors and trainings added into that number. So out of all the youth in Smyth County that are attending public schools and also our homeschool programs, that number is reflected there. The hopes for 2020 is 200 campers, along with our 45 CIT and team members in our team club. So hopefully we can get about 250 kids at camp this year. This slide, along with the next one, was Mrs. Coster Frosty slides. So I'm not 100% sure what she wanted me to hit, but I'm going to do the best I can. So for livestock, our livestock club is growing. These kids usually meet monthly to go over stockmen and equipment and livestock judging monthly, and then they go to Virginia Tech 3 to 4 times a year, and they compete, and they do typically do very well. We usually have a 3rd or 4th place finish. They do county fairs as well. Our shooting sports team has grown, and they're quite impressive if you've never watched them shoot. They shoot a lot over at the North Fork Shooting Club, and I watched them shoot at Kettlefoot and Bristol in a competition. And out of 10 teams, they were the only 2 youth teams that participated, and they finished 4th and 6th. And out of 25 skeet that was thrown, several of them shot 21 or better out of that 25. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them get some scholarships to go shoot somewhere. Our horse club, our volunteer for our horse club is very strong. We kind of struggle with getting kids to get involved with horse club for some reason, but they competed in the state competition this year and won several ribbons. Team club, that number goes closely with our camp numbers, like I said before. As long as our camp numbers are growing, we sure do hope our team club numbers are going to be growing with them. Rabbit Club, this is a fairly new club, and it got put on hold. We partnered with County with this. She was on maternity leave. But the hopes is to transfer this Rabbit Club into a pet club, and I'll talk a little bit more about it in the next slide. And then day camps. Starting out 2015, Lauren's first year, day camps were kind of down, and they continued to grow from this past summer into these fall and winter day camps that I'm currently putting on. And this fall and winter day camp numbers have been close to 30 sometimes. Livestock and community events. I'll bump on down to the bottom. That mini ag day in Lithville. This is where that rabbit club comes into play. The hope is for next year is to transform that rabbit club into the pet club, so kids can not only show their rabbits, but they can show dogs and cats and whatever pet they have. And then we hope to tag along canned goods and just products that they're producing within school or within their home, in hopes that the community will come out and support them. And Lauren also tackled the Rich Valley Fair show last year. And as you can see, there's some pretty large number, lots of lambs, over 100 head, with 26 of them come from Smyth County. We have beef cattle, 36 head, and 6 of them come from Smyth County. Thank you guys for your time, and if you guys have any questions for us.
I'd just like to thank you for what you do. I know that agriculture is so prominent in our community, and I think this is just one way to showcase it. I know you, with you guys in 4-H and Extension both, it's just a good way to get those kids out, and that's what a lot of them's rural roots are. So it's neat to have them have a place that they can show their animals and learn more about it. So it's kind of a heritage thing, and some people are very far removed from it. So it's neat to see young people that kind of have their roots in that. So
I've just handed you guys, I forgot to hand that. That's some of our 4-H camp advertisement and some of our day camp papers that we send out.
thank you again.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Andrew Philpott with Hungry Mother State Park. We're running a little bit late tonight, but we're all good, I guess.
I promise you I will keep it brief. I see the clock over there. First of all, I just want to say thank you for having me, to the board and the county administrator. Letting everybody know kind of what we do there at the park is really important to me. And I also want to give a big thank you to the community here and the county itself. My family and I have received such a warm welcome. It's been incredible. Just a quick update on the park. I don't know if anybody's been out there recently, but the water levels in the lake are really low. And I just want to reassure everybody, we don't have a leak in the lake. We're lowering the water levels right now as part of our bridge replacement project. That's a $650,000 construction project to replace the bridge from the shore to the amphitheater island. So I'm really happy that my predecessor, Nate Clark, was able to help push that through and bring that money to the community here. In addition to that project, we recently completed the dam control replacement project. So now the dam controls all work as appropriate. We actually have a little remote control. We can stand on the top of the dam and control the valves, and we don't have to go out there and fool around with the tower. I don't know if you guys were aware, but last August or September, when the hurricane was going to come through, Nate went out there and opened the dam up, and it immediately broke, and the gates flew wide open, and the water started rushing out, and he was in a panic. But they were able to get them closed, and then they were able to push this project through, and it was part of a statewide project. It replaced 4 or 5 other dam controls in other state parks, so that's a big project as well. Ongoing, we have cabin renovations to Cabin 8 and to one of the residences on the park there. That's also a big construction project. Ed Talley is the main contractor on it, and he's been great to work with. We did a lot of earthwork to help with drainage around the cabin, and the kitchen and bathrooms have been entirely gutted, and we're looking at some good renovations in progress there. I'm new to the park. I'm new to the area here, so I just wanted to be a familiar face. I'm not new to state parks. I've been doing the state park thing since 2007. I started with Ohio State Parks, and then I came down here where the weather's much nicer, and the state park system is much greater. I started out at Kip-to-Peak on the Eastern Shore, and I've kind of made a statewide tour going from Northampton County and Kip-to-Peak there to Patrick County and Ferrystone to Buckingham County and James River State Park, now to Smyth County and Hungry Mother State Park. And this is a huge state park, and it's an honor for me to be the manager there. So I just want to thank everybody and introduce myself. So it's very good to see you.
Thank you so much. I know I've known Nate, met him time and again, and so welcome to Smyth County from the Board of Supervisors. And there's another asset that Smyth County has, that natural resource, or Hungry Mother Park. So I don't know that we have many updates that come in for that. So that's awesome.
May I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Andrew, you mentioned the bridge replacement.
Sure.
And a lot of people that ride out 16, and that's the first thing they look across there and they see that great bridge that goes across to the amphitheater.
That's right.
Now, it's my understanding that it's not going to look the same.
It's going to look real similar. Obviously, we can't recreate it exactly. New codes have have required a little higher handrails, a little closer spacing on some pickets out there, but it's going to be very similar aesthetically.
Okay. Still the wood material, still the,
Yep, it's going to be metal down by the water, but up top, it is going to be wood. Glenn Moore, I don't know if any of you guys know him, but he claims to be one of the guys that worked on that. My employees tell me Shug was probably the one doing most of the work, and Glenn was probably pointing from shore as to what to do. But if you go out there now and look at that bridge, you can see the footings that they used are actually in 55-gallon drums that filled with concrete. That's part of the reason they've shifted since 1971 or whatever, when that bridge was installed. They've just shifted over time. And what the engineering firm has done for us is they've gotten a micropile system integrated into the project. It's going to be driven down into the bedrock, so it should be even longer lasting than the old bridge.
and my last comment has been a former employee of the park system. I would agree with that analogy that Should probably did the work, and Glenn probably did.
And I met with Glenn today. We're working on some stuff with the French group today, but both of those guys are great guys, and I'm very happy to be working with them now. I sense the theme, natural resources, kind of the theme of the night here. I definitely hope to come back in February or March when we have the economic impact numbers for 2019, if you guys are agreeable to that.
Well, there's been a lot of handheld pictures taken over that bridge, and I know that, like you said, there's a lot of concern. I've even heard people like, oh man, that bridge is so classic. So as long as it kind of keeps its aesthetics, there's been a lot of photography done there. So.
And we're hoping to continue to improve the island and make that an even better space for events and weddings and all that. So we're going to work on some renovations, hopefully this coming year, out there to the decking, and hopefully we'll book some more weddings out there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Y'all want to take a break or keep rocking on?
I need one.
We'll take a 5-10 minute recess for just a minute. Go back to appropriations. General County accounts payable listing $1,007,992.48. Payroll $754,402.34. Auto draft rural development $8,974. AEP CenturyLink bills $25,000. County administration fund $5,000 for a total county appropriation plus carryover $1,815,000.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Social services, November 13th through November 30th of 19, $395,000. December 1 through December 10 of 19, $60,000. Total social services, $455,000.
So moved. Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? School operating fund, instruction, $2,800,000. Administration, attendance, and health, $130,000. Transportation, $268,000. Facilities, $285,000. School food services, $175,000. Technology, $100,000 for a total school operating fund of $3,758,000.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Sheriff, Fund 748. Well, I got to go back one. School debt service of $1,110,000.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Sheriff, Fund 748, $3,499.31.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Recovery Court, Fund 749, $29,515.13.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Thanksgiving holiday notice, Mr. Carter.
Just as a reminder, Mr. Chairman, on page 13 of your additional agenda, it has the holidays. If you remember back in January, Board of Supervisors adopted basically the state holiday schedule. for the holiday week. All county offices will close at 12 o'clock noon on Wednesday, November 27th, and will reopen Monday, December 2nd, 2019. It's 2.5 days.
This is for notification purposes because we've already adopted that as the
Yes.
holiday schedule. Budget Committee recommendations. Kelly, would you care to cover that, or no, or? I was there just the other day, but you may be able to explain a little better than I could.
You guys will look on the back page of your additional agenda. The Budget Committee met on the 12th. There was a request before them for a budget amendment by the Department of Social Services. In their original budget, they had requested money to continue their Pitney Bowes lease. They have bought out that lease and got money back, where they will now purchase copiers instead of continuing to lease, which was cost savings to them. The total is $47,250. Expense line item is their lease equipment line item. They're putting $38,820 in there. And Postal Services, $8,430. Revenue, reimbursement from state, $47,250. That will take your overall budget from $89,722,289 to $89,769,539. We're still about $650,000 within our 1% threshold before we would have to consider a public hearing on our budget.
Thank you. We had discussed that. It's a good savings. I guess that's how it happened, but it's going to change. It's going to change our budget, our end budget. So without any cost to the county, it's just going to change that. So
the local dollars will stay the same for social services.
right. So that is a committee recommendation. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor?
The next one, Mr. Gabe Johnson presented a grant award in the amount of $24,000 received by the Department of Criminal Justice Services. They anticipate to use this funding for new radar units. I believe he told us there was going to be 9 of them that they're going to purchase with repair kits that come with these radar units so that they can keep them in service. There's no in-kind or local match required for the grant, so it's straight $24,000 grant award.
Thank you, Kelly. That was also a committee recommendation. Is there any more discussion on that? All those in favor? Thank you. Personnel Committee recommendations, that's what we added to our agenda. Mr. Carter? I'd like to hit that one since we've not got it written down, the personnel that we just had.
I'll have to go off memory, Mr. Chairman, but basically the Personnel Committee met before the board meeting today to discuss a utility projects coordinator position that we had identified earlier in the budgeting cycle. The committee discussed, they reviewed the job description. As I recall, the position will not only be involved in water and sewer type projects, but also VDOT projects, et cetera. It's something certainly that as we continue to participate in infrastructure and as we continue to be in the V-Trans and all of the associated VDOT projects that are coming this way, one of the big ones ongoing is the Back of the Dragon project. We also have some roundabouts planned through Smart Scale. So we brought that back to the committee. The committee reviewed the job description and recommended to the full board to accept it, advertise it, and move forward with it.
That was a committee recommendation. Is there more discussion?
Just clarification, we're just voting to advertise the job?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Planning Commission, well, Mr. Carter, Planning Commission recommendation back on the original agenda.
Yes, sir. If you'll turn to page 20 in your agenda packet. You see a letter from Mr. Clegg Williams to me. Basically, I'll read the letter for reference. At the joint public hearing on Thursday, October 24, 2019, the following motion was rendered. The recommendation on the request of James Craig Harper for a special use permit. Commissioner Graham Davidson made a motion to recommend the Board of Supervisors deny Mr. James Craig Harper's special use permit request for a service business. Commissioner Paul Shepard seconded the motion, and after consideration, the motion passed with the following vote. Ayes, Pugh, Spence, Wagner, Shepard, Davidson Jr., and absent was Campbell and Dean. Mr. Chairman, I also received an email from a concerned citizen. If you'd like, it's very brief, I can read it as well.
Sure, thank you.
It's from a Mr. Fry. It says, after reading the Smyth County News concerning Mr. Harper's request for special use permit in order to expand his towing and storage of junked or wrecked vehicles, as a resident of the Pleasant Heights subdivision, I have concerns. Some of those are property value of entire subdivision homes, additional noise. There's a church nearby on Valley Road, which is already busy. There are farm trucks, trailers, etc. It just seems open for a chance for the appearance of salvage or a junkyard. I, too, am all for business in the county. However, feel that we should, as a county, maintain our zoning ordinance and fit businesses properly within those parameters. I respectfully submit my opinion of the Board of Supervisors for ruling against, although meaning no disrespect to Mr. Harper.
Well, that was a planning commission recommendation. I think we were all here the other night, and some of us stayed in and saw how that transpired. So the floor is open for a motion.
The planning commission's recommendation was to not deny, right?
That's correct.
You know, I make a motion we go along with the planning commission. That's my district. You know, it's a fairly nice subdivision there. The people here that spoke that night, Nina, Woodruff, and the Carters, they got real nice homes. I like Mr. Harper. You know, we got zoning in place simply for this reason, to protect people like that. It has these homes. That's their life. That's what they work for. They're not farmers. They're not travelers. They keep their yards clean. They keep their houses up. You know, this is the one time zoning needs to work. So I make a motion to deny the special use permit and go along with the planning commission.
I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second on the table. Is there any more discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? All right. CDBG planning grant, Ms. Hayden?
So I'm coming to you this afternoon with some good news. I don't know if you all remember a couple of months ago, we talked about partnering with CIT on broadband expansion for Smyth County. And in doing that, we were able to apply for a pre-planning grant, and we just got the award letter within a week or so ago, giving us $15,000 to associate that with our pre-planning work for the broadband expansion in Smyth County. So we have $2,000 that is reserved up front for costs. The remaining funds will be distributed after all items have been met. And I think you guys got a copy of that. Already 2 of those 4 requirements have been met. We have established our broadband management team, and that date is set for our first meeting, which is November 18th at 10 o'clock. After that, we will have a public meeting scheduled and hear input from the county citizens and get their participation. We will also distribute a community needs survey that will help us kind of regulate where the needs are for broadband. And then after that, the compilation of that survey, the broadband management team will review that, submit all that, we'll get it to DHCD, and then hopefully the full $15,000 awarded to us.
Thank you very much. I know that's something that's, I just got an email from USDA the other day talking about some big grant monies that they're doing in different areas, so I think that's an issue that's it's hitting rural America hard, and people are really trying to get ahead of that. I'd love to see this initiative just keep building steam
This
and
is step one of many.
yes, yeah. I think that's something that all citizens should have access to. The times have changed, and this is something that we really need in our community, so. Any questions for anybody? Thank you, Kendra. Census Day proclamation, Ms. Lisa Richards. Oh,
Yeah, I had something, that wasn't a question, but may I make a comment here on this?
sure.
Having gone to the VACO, and county paying for me to go there, I've attended a couple of sessions, and one of them was on the revenue and government, and the other one was on the broadband. And the comment that was made at broadband, and they said they could not stress it strong enough, and we had delegates sitting there, and they were nodding their head in agreement, that if the county itself is spending money on broadband procurement and extension, they're more willing to pass out grant money to those counties. So I just want everybody to keep that in mind, that was said. The governor's comment, one of the few things he commented on was he is pushing broadband bad.
Mhm.
He comes from rural Virginia. He sees the need. He's pushing it. Another session I went to was on the revenue, and right now the Virginia state budget is ahead of projections. They anticipate it's going to stay that way, and the excess money, they are surely and certain, I think that's the way they said it, that the governor's going to try to use part of that money for additional broadband. So we as a county need to position ourselves any and every way we can to let them know we have a need and we have a want for it. So that's all I wanted to say, but we need to not just talk, we need to make them aware that we're in it.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what's happening right now, so that's,
May I
Sure.
just expand slightly? What you said is right. In the process of getting there, and Kendra and I have been fortunate to attend a lot of they call them body, which is the grant program that the Tobacco Commission does. And they will tell you that this type of grant is the first step, because that's what gets the planning, that's what gets everything in motion. And when you do that, it makes you a more viable candidate to receive additional funding. And that's where the locality money kicks in. And I don't remember off the top, I know he said that there are $19 million in the current year, and they're pushing to get that expanded. And I believe in round one, he said that they received $43 million worth of applications, and they only were able to award $19 million. So that all plays into it. And by initiating this first step, that puts us, where we need to do. And one of the things that he also mentioned was his initiative a couple of years ago was in 10 years that every Virginian would have access to what they call, the broadband, not underserved or unserved, but suitable service. And he has amped that up. And I think he made the comment, 7, and then you've got Evan Feynman, and you got some of these other guys who are like, we're not waiting that long. So they're really pushing to get more funding into the state's program that needs to be complemented by the localities. And I think that's where we need to go, and I agree with that.
well, I think, Charlie and I had a conversation here earlier tonight about, you said the border had changed from west of Roanoke to
West of Charlottesville.
west of Charlottesville. So, yeah, we gotta plug where we can plug. So these rural areas, that's where we are. So I'm full steam ahead with that.
And one final thing that we'll smile about. Now, he is from rural Virginia, but the rural Virginia is a little part that sticks out on the way side of the map where the island is.
The other part.
So
Yeah.
it's always funny when you're from rural Virginia, you think about Southwest.
Yeah,
Rural Virginia's out there too.
yeah.
So,
And just so our audience know what Todd and I are talking about, we used to always say that a large portion of the population of Virginia was from east of Roanoke, or we were small down here west of Roanoke. Now they're saying we here in Southwest, and by now they're saying west of Charlottesville, only 30% of the population of Virginia lives west of Charlottesville. So we're a small group. I mean, they've moved that line a lot further east on us. So we got to really work together.
Thank you very much. Census Day proclamation, Ms. Richardson? No, I appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, if you recall, back in August, September of this year, We had Peggy Hurley with the United States Census Bureau come in and request that we form the county, form a complete count committee for the census that's coming up to 2020. And we've done that. The board did do that, and we had our first meeting on November 6th. One of the action items that we had a very good, productive meeting with a lot of participation from the community, from members of the community and different organizations. It was a very good meeting. So we're looking forward to getting moving on that. We did have our first meeting on November 6th, and one of the first things that the census requests is that the county declare a proclamation for Census Awareness Day. So I'd like to go ahead and read that, if it's okay.
If you would, please.
Whereas every 10 years, Article 1, Section 2 of the United States Constitution mandates a count of all people living in the United States and its territories. And whereas the 2020 census will address every household in the nation with a simple questionnaire with the goal of counting everyone once, only once, and in the right place. And whereas data obtained by the survey will be used to help determine how approximately $675 billion will be distributed from the federal government to state, local, and tribal governments annually. And whereas up to $2,000 of federal funding will be lost for each person not counted, as well as upwards of $20,000 of federal funding lost every 10 years. And whereas a complete count requires that we bring together leaders from all communities of the Commonwealth, so every Virginian, regardless of racial, social, or economical background, is counted. And whereas Governor S. Northam has established the Virginia Complete Count Commission, which is comprised of 40 members to collaborate with community partners in local complete count committees to ensure an accurate 2020 census count. And whereas Smyth County has established a complete count committee with the goals of disseminating 2020 census information to the general public, encouraging all residents to participate in events and initiatives that will raise the overall awareness of the 2020 census and increase participation, provide census advocates to speak to community organizations and events, provide support for census takers as they help the community complete an accurate count, and strive to achieve a complete and accurate count for all persons within the County of Smyth. Now therefore, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Smyth hereby proclaims March 12, 2020 as Census Awareness Day and commends the work of the Complete Count Committee, adopted this 13th day of November 2019 in the County of Smyth, Virginia.
What's the pleasure of the board? To recommend the...
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt the resolution. Or would you call it a resolution or a proclamation? Proclamation.
And just for everyone's knowledge benefit, March 12th is the first day that the census is available online to be survey to be submitted.
Any more discussion?
I'd just like to add that it's so important that we get everyone counted, because we're on the edge of being a 30 or less than 30 or more than 30,000. And a lot of our sheriff's department employees, social services, and a lot of other state aid is based on that census. So if we come in at 29,999, there's a significant difference between 30,000 and 1. Those two people can make a big difference. So if you know somebody that's not on the computer, doesn't have a computer, make sure that somehow or another we're getting them counted. It's so important that we do that. So that's my sermon for today.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Release of lien for Green Hill Circle.
Chairman, Mr. Campbell sent me, he apparently has been in court, and he sent me a message basically asking if I would take the two liens. First was on page 25, and I'll just read it. It's from Tom Burkett, our treasurer. It's to Mr. Campbell. It says, attached, you will find a paid receipt for Joe E. and Susie H. Threlkeld. The receipt represents their final payment on the special assessment for the residents of Green Hill Circle and Chilhowie. Please request the Board of Supervisors take the necessary action to release the lien on their properties as they have fulfilled their financial obligation. And if you look at page 26, you will see, in fact, the balance due and the appropriate payment. So I would ask the board to consider this one first, and then we'll do the second one accordingly.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
Michael, what were those liens for?
Basically, as a revenue share project, that subdivision was, it had the support from the citizens to upgrade their road to a state maintained facility. It was pavement, it was ditching, it was drainage. There was an assessment applied to them, and in this instance, well, in both these instances, these two individuals have met that special assessment, and now it's a release of that money.
So moved.
Second.
Motion in 2 seconds. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
And the second one, on page 27 again, this time it's for William H. and Suzanne R. Lester. Again, representing their final payment for the special assessment of the residents on Green Hill Circle. Request the board to take the necessary action, and that too is on page 28, showing a balance due of 0. So I would request that you consider that one as well.
So moved. Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I will mention that Mr. Campbell identified the closed session that you spoke about earlier, that he would address at the December meeting.
Okay. Acceptance of funds from animal-friendly plates by the DMV. Ms. Woods?
Mr. Chairman, you guys should have a copy of the letter that we received from the DMV stating that we have received $465 for the animal-friendly plates. That money has to be awarded to an agency that meets the criteria within that. We have always in the past given that to the Humane Society, and I ask that you consider that this evening.
It's a pleasure of the board.
Move to approve.
A second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. You gonna stay there? Back to the Dragon Project update.
All right, as you guys are aware, I try to give an update to you all every meeting. Things have been kind of slow, but now they've kind of sped up with the Back of the Dragon project. I had a little lag in getting the environmental approved. That is now approved. My DBE goal has been approved. It's in the hands of civil rights at VDOT. That will take about a week. And then it has to go to Richmond for their approval from the VDOT end. He told me when I spoke to him on November 6th that could take about 6 weeks. So I didn't want you guys to think that, we weren't working on the project. We are. According to VDOT's schedule, as long as we are bidding the project January through March, we're on track. We did, like I said, get our approval for funding to continue through the Tobacco Commission, so everything's fine with the funding. I spoke to Roger actually again today, and he's with VDOT. He's perfectly happy with the way things are going. He said he actually wished that more project managers would stay on top of him to give them answers. So that's where it's at right now.
All right. Thank you very much. That's just saying it's
It's
moving forward.
fast as we can
Mr.
move.
Chairman,
Yes, ma'am?
Kelly, you can clarify this for me. Did we run into a little bit of a problem with our timetable, like a bump in the road earlier, though, as far as getting some things done that might have challenged the grant or not?
It depends on what that bump in the road may be as you ask it. I've stayed on top. That's why we requested the grant extension with the Tobacco Commission, because they only fund us for a year. And if we...
That's what I'm referring to.
They have always, I stay in communication with the Tobacco Commission. We also have to send a report to them every September that tells them kind of where the project is at and what we're doing, what's changed from the last report, so that they will continue to give us our funding. I did talk to the lady at, I can't think of her name, Michael may know her name, with the Tobacco Commission when we had that meeting.
Sarah Williams.
Yes, and she says this is kind of how these projects go. So they have that expectation that there's a continuous request to grant the extension. Because this is how these projects work.
So that's what we had to do.
It's pretty common.
Ask for an extension.
Yes.
And may I add to that? Remember there was a time frame that we also had, that went a little longer, I guess, than planned on the acquisition of the additional property there. There was discussion about the property acquisition. And luckily, through that dashboard, we're still right on track and everything's moving productively. And Kelly won't like it, but I want to say this. VDOT now requires a locality to have a full-time employee. You can't have a contract employee. You have to have a member of your staff on board to be a certified, locally administered project person. And I would like to tell you that Kelly Woods is this county's first and only, right now, person that has that certification. And she's done a fantastic job on this project, and I think that she deserves a little recognition for that.
Thank you very much. EMS committee update. The EMS committee met October the 22nd. Charlie Harrington, the EMS coordinator, spoke and gave an update to the committee regarding the subcommittee that has met to continue to address the emergency services needs for Smyth County. Mr. Harrington stated the committee discussed where the county is, where the county is going, needs for Smyth County, and long-term goals of 3 to 5 years. He also stated the meeting went well and had active participation. He said everyone seemed willing to work together and address the lack of volunteer organizations for EMS services and the needs for Smyth County. The committee discussed what those in attendance felt were current issues and asked Mr. Harrington to discuss them with the subcommittee at the next scheduled meeting. And those were issues such as dispatch, personnel, and capital expenses. Were a few things brought forward by the committee, and everyone in the committee would like to see that EMS services stay as a priority so issues can be resolved in a timely manner, allowing for planning within budgets, etc. Mr. Harrington will report information back to the Emergency Communications Committee at the next scheduled meeting. Do you have anything really to add to that? I mean, that's what it was. It was just a discussion on how his subcommittee that was formed together with department heads from all of our EMS departments, and I know in the Emergency Communications Committee, Mr. Blevins and Michael and myself are members of that committee, and I think it was said that, well, I had expressed concern. I said, look, this is what you guys do. Y'all know, it's just, that's up their wheelhouse, is to, with fire and EMS. So, Mr. Harrington put those heads together to try to come up with resolutions that would satisfy what the county's needs are in the future. I know there was a little bit of concern and saying that we needed to, if it was something that was going to have to be in the budget cycles, if there was any changes that Mr. Harrington needed to get those numbers together. So I know that was one of the town of Marion's strong, hard questions, and ours as well, is that something that needs to be planned for. So is that pretty correct in saying? So that was just an update. That's all I've got. Kelly, did I get everything on both agendas?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding this, CMS is going to be a major thing that the board is going to face
Right.
immediately in the near future. And the minute, since all of us are not on that committee, if we could have a little bit more detail, because it says, are just a few. The dispatch, the personnel, and capital expenses are just a few of the things brought forward. And if we could maybe have a little bit more detail in the future as to some of those discussions, because we're going to be having to appropriate a lot of
funding or
Mhm.
whatever, so that's just my comment.
Okay.
Personally, I'd like to see that.
Well, I mean, we're sitting around a round table, and other than just, I can't think of the term I'm looking for now, for taking notes for I mean, it's just kind of we're not into the nuts and the bolts of what recommendations are going to be yet. This is just kind of, Mr. Harrington coming to us with, that was actually his first report, saying, yeah, we got a subcommittee together, and we're looking, he didn't get into specifics of what he just said, we're looking into things and avenues that they feel like that, department heads, department heads for Marion, Saltville, Saltville, everybody, they got somebody at the table of all of the EMS councils, and which is a pretty strong team of individuals, and they know how things are going in the county. They know what their daily runs are. They know what their expenses are. So that's the subcommittee that was put together, rather than having myself on there or having Bill Rush on there, somebody that's not in that daily. So that's why we made a subcommittee for that investigation to take place. Time is of an issue, so that is something that we're trying to not let go, because right now Saltville is doing really well, and we hope that will continue. We all hope that for the county and for Saltville and the rescue squad in general. So, but in the future, there'll be a little more discussion, and I think once we get into the nuts and bolts of things, I think that a little more explanations will be in the meetings.
That'd be great.
Do you know when that next scheduled meeting is?
I believe he said in the next 60 days.
Yeah.
We were trying, at first it was going to be a quarterly thing, but we felt like that was too far. So we're trying to hone that in.
Okay, good.
Trying to hone it in so that some action will be taken and not just talked about for the next 3 months and then 6 months, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something to make action happen to where the findings are there. So, I mean, it's just like any other kind of committee. It's a committee that meets and it's open, so, maybe we could get word if anybody wanted to sit in on. I know that's going to be something the county will face in the future. So, that's all I have on the agenda. We'll do supervisor comment time. Mr. Call.
Good.
Mr. Blevins.
Good.
Jackins.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I want to do a shout out to the town of Marion. I noticed in our information that the airport has the town's engineer doing the work on the landing pads for the planes. I'm happy to see that they pitched in on that. That was good. So shout out and a thank you to the town of Marion for that.
Very good. Mr. Stevenson.
Good.
Mr. Blevins.
Good also.
Ms. White.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to all of you who did come tonight and for, bringing some of your concerns to us, and hopefully we can address those in a manner that's acceptable and that will meet the needs of our community and our county for the bid. I'd like to also welcome our 2 new elected board members, and to say we look forward to working with you, and I think there are good things ahead for our county.
We don't have a continued meeting this time?
Thank you.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving.
Too much question.